Anyone who's been watching my Total Extreme Wrestling videos for a while and all the aborted series within that will know how significant this intro is. I've had major computer problems. My laptop stopped working. I'm having to play on a different PC. But I haven't lost the save. We pick up right where we left off after the New Blood Rising pay-per-view. And it's Monday Nitro. Hello and welcome to part 5 of my WCW Total Extreme Wrestling playthrough. I'm Kev and we're starting things off on a slightly different screen to what we normally do, because a couple of people have asked me to show you the financial situation that we're in here at WCW. So we'll get into Nitro in a second, but yeah, I've made some mistakes as part of this save already. When I restarted WCW, we were the second ranked promotion, and we were $1 million in debt. We've done 1 month and we're now the 8th ranked promotion, and we made a $250,000 loss in August, and that includes the pay-per-view. Firstly, how have we shrunk so far? It's because I fiddled with the product too many times. Every time I fiddle with the product that we're looking for from WCW, it causes existing fans to drop away. I did it twice because I'm an idiot and wasn't thinking. And it's basically the same as it was initially. Either the main thing I was tweaking was the match to... where is it? Somewhere on here it's got the match to... Oh yeah, match ratio. There you go. So the match ratio for standard WCW was something like 40% matches, 60% segments on a TV show. So I just did that. That took us down to about 4th place on the size of the companies. And I didn't adjust it far enough. I changed it to like 50-50 and I still wasn't happy. So moved it to 60-40 to have a better balance of how I wanted the shows to be, and that took us all the way down to 8th place, which means we're now in a situation where it's a good job we signed everybody when we did, because we certainly wouldn't be able to sign them now because we're too small for anyone to agree terms with us at this point. The problem with signing everybody when we did is I signed far too many wrestlers, and I signed them all to 3-year written contracts with signing bonuses rather than just having like a core of maybe 15 or 20 performers and filling out the roster with paper appearance stuff. I kind of hadn't factored in just how difficult it was with a small promotion with not a lot of money. So we could go bankrupt at any moment. Fingers crossed we won't. Let's get into Nitro. And we kick things off with our pre-show. Mark Sherman is someone we are desperately trying to build, because when I look on the creative meeting section, it says that he's the next major star out of the company. Not just that he's a good one for the future, he's got the potential to be a full-on main event star. I have no idea who he is from real life, and he certainly doesn't pick up any decent ratings in game, but we had him on the main shows on Nitro before the pay-per-view, and he was a bit of a problem, so I think we're just going to have him winning every week on the pre-show until we start to see some improvements above the E that he gets at the moment, because he's basically a nobody. He's taking on Yujiro Takahashi, who is a perfect example of someone who we signed to a 3-year written contract, and we really shouldn't have done, because again, I don't really know who he is. I've got no idea how to use him. He's just going to spend 3 years being a jobber and earning money for it, and that was silly. And next time I do a playthrough with a company that's got no money, I'll try and remember that it can't just do WWE style throw money around. We don't have NXT to send people down to. We can't even have Thunder for another 2 months as a second show to give these people some time on. So at the moment, he's not going to get on Nitro, either of these. So we're just sticking him in the pre-show and paying him every month, which is stupid. On a similar basis, we have another pre-show match. Rhett Titus is another one who's identified as one for the future, one who could be really good for us. He's nowhere near there yet, so we're just putting him over Colt Cabana, who's another example of someone who... I signed him because I've heard his podcast. I don't really know anything about him as a wrestler. I don't have any plans to use him majorly on Nitro. He's another waste of money. He'll just be here to lose to Titus and Sherman every week. But there's your pre-show. Yay. I know what I'm doing, honest. And let's get into the main show. So, the main Nitro starts with a segment where, who is it? Ethan Carter wants a rematch against Rey Mysterio. Obviously, Mysterio won the world title tournament at New Blood Rising against EC3. He wants a rematch because, you know, he's a heel. He deserves a rematch. Paul Heyman's out there giving it all the Paul Heyman patter, and it looks like everything's going to go their way. They're going to get their rematch. Mysterio's up for it. He's willing to take on any challengers. But Bischoff comes out and says, whoa, hold on a minute. You don't just automatically get a rematch. You only just made it past Bobby Lashley in a semi-final. If you want Mysterio again. First, you have to make it through Lashley, and he books a match between EC3 and Lashley, the winner of which will be the challenger for Rey Mysterio's world title at our next pay-per-view, the name of which completely escapes me at the moment. I'll look it up at some point. We get a B for a B minus for the segment, because we've basically got all our star power in the ring at the same time. It's a solid start to the show. It advances our world title storyline. Good work, Kev. See, I can book a show after all. And then we move into some matches with some more examples of people that I need to come up with a plan for, really. We've got far too much of a bloated mid-card. I'm almost thinking I might need to just start really annoying some people so they ask for their release so we can stop paying for them. Probably won't be either of these two. I think John Morrison's got a part to play as a sort of upper mid-carder. We'll give him good runs every now and again, but then use him to put people over as well. And this is part of a good run, because he didn't go out very well in the world title tournament, didn't show very well in that, hasn't really done anything since. Adam Cole is one of our more established mid-carders, so two of them against each other. It's a solid win for Morrison, allows him to push on maybe towards that US title picture. And I need to come up with a plan for Adam Cole. Let me know down in the comments what's my plan for Adam Cole, because I know the internet really likes Adam Cole, but again, when he turned up on NXT TakeOver in Brooklyn, I didn't really know who he was. I don't watch Ring of Honor. I'm aware of him as an association with Bullet Club, and that's about it. So let me know what I should be doing with Adam Cole and whether I should have put him over John Morrison there. But we get a C for the segment, and any segment that can get a C at this stage is fine by me. We have another angle here where we've got the Young Bucks and the Briscoes arguing over who should face the Motor City Machine Guns for their tag titles. Now, obviously, this is because it was supposed to be Young Bucks versus Briscoe Brothers at the pay-per-view to crown our first tag team champions, but our new signings appeared on the pay-per-view, came down in the shape of the Motor City Machine Guns and won the match. In reality, a little bit behind the curtain, the Motor City Machine Guns would have been involved in the tournament, but Chris Sabin was injured and wasn't available until the day before New Blood Rising, so I needed to get him involved somehow. And if you're going to have him added to the match at the pay-per-view, you kind of have to have them win, don't you? Otherwise, what's the point in them being a surprise? So they're all arguing over it. Bischoff's there trying to get them to settle themselves down, and similar to with the world title picture, they're not automatically going to get shots. They need to earn the shot against Motor City Machine Guns. So we're going to have a match where it's the Young Bucks against the Briscoe Brothers for a shot at the newly crowned tag team champions, the Motor City Machine Guns. We get a B for the segment, which is good. And then this is all about superstar management, if you like, or wrestler management. We're not in WWE here. A couple of people said in the comments to recent videos, Kev, don't fall into the trap of 50-50 booking. Kev, don't just give people wins for no reason. But it's not as simple as just picking the wrestlers and deciding what you want to do with them and there being no consequences. Shelton Benjamin is an example of that, because Shelton Benjamin is not very happy because he's pretty much lost every match he's had for WCW so far, and I need to appease him. So this is me appeasing him. We're reforming the world's greatest tag team. I can't remember if we already had them together or not, but we've got them together now. And we also had Magnus and Doug Williams knocking around, so may as well put them together as a British Invasion. I don't expect the British Invasion to be part of our tag title picture anytime soon, but they are both established enough to be in a situation to give Shelton Benjamin a win. So Shelton gets his win, cheers him up a little bit. He's carried the match in terms of in-ring performance. I'm not going to keep him bogged down in the tag division forever, but I think a little program in the tag division leading up to the next pay-per-view is a good way to get Shelton Benjamin some wins, so we can then move him back over into the singles picture and work out what to do with him, because again, I don't really have a plan for him other than the fact that I kind of want to use him to put other people over, but I can't just have him lose all the time, because then he gets grumpy. So we get a C for the segment. Benjamin much better than everybody else. Charlie Huss with a pretty decent performance as well, considering he's about 1,000 years old. And Magnus and Doug Williams, I would have expected better than D's from them, but I can live with D pluses at this stage. And there you go, we've started a new storyline. It's going to be the world's greatest tag team versus the British Invasion. They're going to be feuding for the next sort of 3 or 4 episodes, while we just build up Shelton Benjamin a little bit and work out whether the British Invasion are a tag team that can be part of our tag division. Because although when I booked the match it wasn't really part of the plan, for them both to come in with D+, that's as good as the Briscoe Brothers or as good as the Young Bucks are getting on match scores at the moment. So I guess they have every right to be part of that tag division and might force their way in. Who knows? And then we have our another angle where Jay Lethal announces that he's the only one so far who actually has a contractual rematch, because he was a champion defending against a challenger. So he has a contractual rematch clause for the US title, and he's going to be having his US title rematch at Fall Brawl. There you go. I've used the name of the pay-per-view in my angles somewhere. Good work, Kev. So it's Jay Lethal versus Cody Rhodes at Fall Brawl for the US title. Bischoff's there to tick it off and add a bit of star power to the segment. Our US title storyline advances. We get a B, and these are some solid angles starting off Nitro this week. Everything seems to be going well at the moment. Now, the Nexus. I'm getting a little bit of heat in the comments for how I'm booking the Nexus so far, because it's apparently not making a lot of sense. Hopefully, over the course of the next 2 or 3 episodes, it will start to make a bit more sense. I know we've got a lot of factions within WCW at the moment. Maybe they're not all intended to be there for a long time. But here we have another segment. It's Wade Barrett, Ryback and Bobby Lashley. And Wade Barrett wants to prove that he's the leader of the Nexus. So we've got this Barrett and Ryback both wanting to be in charge of the team, even though Barrett's your old school Nexus leader, but Ryback feels that he's gone on and achieved more since the Nexus stopped. So they both want to be leader of the Nexus. Wade Barrett's going to prove he is still the leader by doing what Ryback couldn't do, because Ryback lost to Lashley at the pay-per-view, I think, or maybe on the last episode of Nitro. But Wade Barrett's going to go out there. He's going to beat Lashley and show that he is better than Ryback. We get a C for the segment. And that match, I think, appears later on Nitro tonight. Maybe. You can tell I booked all this like a week ago before my computer issues. It'll all become more fluent again in the next episode. And now we finally have a match. It's a version of Bullet Club. So we've got Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks against Jay Lethal and the Briscoe Brothers. So we've basically got a Bullet Club against a Ring of Honor representative team, and Bullet Club win the match. It's a bout that had great heat and good wrestling. We're finally booking good matches, and obviously these are massively tied in to our title pictures as well, because we've got our US champion, our former US champion, and the 2 teams who feel a little bit hard done by that they're not currently the tag champs. So there's plenty of existing storyline heat that we can move over into this one, which I think helps. Plus, decent chemistry amongst everyone involved as well. We get a C for the segment. This is what I was saying before about the Young Bucks getting Ds, the Briscoes getting Ds. The British Invasion don't look out of place in that kind of company. But Cody Rhodes just got the edge on everybody else. Jay Lethal not far behind him. It advances our tag title storyline. Our US title storyline loses a little bit of heat, but I can live with that. And it is, I decided to give the pin to Nick Jackson because according to the creative meeting section, he's the potential breakout star of the Young Bucks. So I want to give him wins as often as I can. So we've got the Young Bucks defeating the Briscoes. We have Lethal and Rhodes involved in the match, but not really getting any kind of resolution, which is why their storyline doesn't really move on at all, because they're both kind of there, but nothing really happened. So perhaps a 6-man tag wasn't the best plan, but for me, it's a C on a segment, and I like getting C's on segments. And then we have our new women's champion, Mia Yim, versus Awesome Kong for the WCW women's title, because Awesome Kong feels like she deserves an opportunity at it. She wants another go. She was the one who was at the pay-per-view, wasn't she? And she felt like she was a little bit hard done by. She wants her rematch straight away. She gets her rematch, but Mia Yim wins again. It's her first defense of the WCW women's title, and Awesome Kong has now lost twice. She can disappear down into the pack of the women's division, and we need a new challenger for Mia Yim to emerge going forward into the next pay-per-view. I'm kind of fast-forwarding this feud a little bit, because what I don't want to have is the next pay-per-view to be a bunch of rematches from the last pay-per-view. So I felt like this was one where we had pretty good justification for ending this feud. 2 quick wins. She's beaten her twice, both times for the title. Kong, bye-bye. We get D on the segment, which is fine for a women's championship match. And then we have one of EC3's Dangerous Alliance stablemates, Ted DiBiase Jr., just keeping a little bit of that world title picture heat going. So there you go. In fact, it says, I'm pointing with my fingers. Let's point with the mouse. It says fantastic heat because we've got Paul Heyman at ringside. We've got EC3 sort of smouldering around, watching what's going on as well. Smouldering the word I want to use there? Probably not. But it's Rey Mysterio versus Ted DiBiase. Mysterio does, of course, beat DiBiase. He's a WCW champion after all. But there's lots of this from Paul Heyman all the way through. EC3's knocking about as well. Mysterio's happy that he gets a win against the Dangerous Alliance, but the Dangerous Alliance, they're pretty ready to just throw everything they've got against Mysterio to try and get that title onto EC3 where they feel it belongs. We get a C+ for the segment, Mysterio getting a C+, DiBiase with a D+, and then we have an angle which is EC3 and Paul Heyman in the ring. In fact, let me read this. I can't remember exactly what I wrote. EC3 and Mysterio have a post-match stare down, which is interrupted by Bobby Lashley entering. So EC3, after Mysterio wins the match and he's celebrating, EC3 just wanders down. He might have been on guest commentary, maybe. That would be quite a fun place for him to be. So it's DiBiase's disappeared at this point. It's EC3 and Paul Heyman in the ring, staring down Rey Mysterio, and Lashley turns up just to say, whoa, hold on. Remember, this thing we've got going on here, this isn't a foregone conclusion. I'm a part of this. Let's not make this a two-way feud. You've got to get through me first. And we get a B for the segment. And that moves us into the other match that was foreshadowed, because Lashley's out here now. Everyone else goes away. Lashley's out here for his match against Wade Barrett. Remember, Wade Barrett is planning on beating Lashley to prove that he's the leader of the Nexus. We again get some good heat, great wrestling, but he can't do what he said he was going to do. Lashley defeats Barrett in 12 minutes when Wade Barrett was disqualified when Ryback ran in and attached Bobby Lashley. We also had Justin Gabriel interfere for the Nexus as well. So Ryback, we've got that whole confusion again with Ryback. Was he deliberately getting Barrett disqualified? Was he trying to help Barrett? It's not really clear. We've got this whole business between the two of them. We do have a bit of a Bobby Lashley versus the Nexus storyline starting to bubble, because he keeps coming up against Ryback and Wade Barrett. So we've got business going on there, but kind of just maintaining a little bit of a simmering tension between Barrett and Ryback. The Nexus are together, but they're kind of together because they don't have anyone else to hang out with. They're not really there. They're not a solid team like the Bullet Club are, and it's supposed to be showing through these segments. And that ends our show with a C+, which overall gets us a C+ for the show. Apparently we didn't have enough attractive women on the show to satisfy our male core audience, so we need to get a few ladies out there, which I thought we did, but looking at that, we did only have the one women's match. Perhaps we need to get a few more female. We would have had Melina come out as manager for John Morrison, and maybe there would have been someone else involved. I can live with a C+, and we'll keep building some of those storylines going through to our next pay-per-view, which is Fall Brawl, and I think that's in 3 episodes' time. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the booking of this week's Nitro. What would you have done differently? What did you like? Where do you see these storylines going from here, and who should be our next champions in each of our different divisions? If you've enjoyed it, please make sure you pop a like on there for me. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and thank you very much for watching.